my brother was also called, and we were told we are supposed to report to the CID offices. So we went because we didn't, we didn't think there's anything. Yes. So we went. So when we got there, they told us, we want you to write a statement because your uncle is claiming you had forged a will.
In their letter back to my lawyer, they say that they actually see that the way this case was conducted from the word go had a flaw, because none of the evidence that we gave was considered. And so they wrote back to us, my lawyer and her lawyer, and said actually that from their point, it looks like the investigating officer was hell-bent to ensure that we end up in prison.
So now on 9th of June, I remember I was going about my daily activities in school. I'm called in the morning, Carol, you're going to court. So that is when the judgment was read out, and when I heard those words, like, you have been set free forthwith, because they say now the prosecution had already confirmed you guys were wrongly convicted, and now you have been set free forthwith. Those, I think, were the nicest words I'd had.
It's not easy being away for 4 years from your people. Of course, by the time I was leaving, my sons were getting into teenagehood. Now you come back and you find that people already have their own life. They have their own lifestyle. And it's you to make that deliberate effort to plug in.
A very good morning to you and a warm welcome to LNN Rebuilding series. My name is Lynn Ngugi. Now, today's episode is dedicated to everyone who is serving or who is actually being ostracized for something they did not do. I know we live in a country, or we live in a nation where we assume all matter of things. But what happens when you spend so many years, actually you spend 4 years and 23 days in prison for a crime you did not do? And you are not just spending it alone, you are spending it with your sibling, in this case a brother and a sister. Today's conversation, they will be talking to us about how they've been able to rebuild their lives. And for me, it's actually seeing their kids and knowing they missed that part of their parents that breaks my heart. My guest today showed up with her daughter, and she's 28, and I was like, you were supposed to be there for her during those years when she's trying to figure things out, but unfortunately you could not be with her. And as I watched my guest's son on a previously televised conversation, I was just looking at them and knowing one of them is in uni and having missed that crucial part of having the dad around also broke my heart. So if you are watching this and you've been accused of doing something that you know you did not do, always remember there is hope, and always remember that you can rebuild your life again. I'm about to let them introduce themselves, but then the conversation goes deep in matters land. And I want to say thank you so much to our incredible partners of today's conversation, Optiven. I say when we talk about Optiven on this platform, it's not just a product. They don't sell you land, they sell you guys a lifestyle. It's a very family oriented company that caters for your needs as a family, and they are celebrating 24 years today. But their product of choice is to ask you, if you are retiring, could you please check Ocean View Ridge in Vipingo and see if you are able to get yourself something beautiful. And of course, as always, to Mr. Washuri and the team, thank you for always coming through. And to you guys, so I know we are almost 2 weeks to end of the year. Please make our dream come true. Get us to 800k subscribers. That will mean a lot. Mi siingi mwaka kama mjamaliza 800k. Kama mjatufikisha nitaishia hapo, mi siingi, nitabaki 2023 until you guys do the thing. But I want to let you know, I see your love, I see your effort, I see you sharing our work, and I honestly appreciate it. And of course, to my incredible team that gets to put this work together and make sure it reaches you guys right on time. Asanteni sana. And now, without further ado, please allow me to let these powerful siblings introduce themselves. Good morning.
Good morning, Lynn.
How are you?
We are fine.
How are we feeling?
Cold morning, one rainy morning,
But hot in here.
Yes.
yeah, it's a good
Hot in here.
Yes.
Sawa sawa. Please introduce yourself.
ladies first.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm Caroline Masharia.
Yeah.
I'm a mother of two. I have a 28-year-old daughter
Yeah.
and a 23-year-old son. I'm a widow. I lost my husband in 2004.
Condolences.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
Feel at home.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
To you, sir.
Thank you. My name is John Henry Mwangi. Married with 3 children. First one is 19 in university, a 16-year-old, and then a 9-year-old. I'm happy to be here today,
Yes.
so that we can share our story and create awareness.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
know who is older, but the audience are looking at you guys like, who is who? So, who was here beating the other? Talk up, later kikombe. Who was that?
Of course, I'm the one. I'm the firstborn in the family.
Yes.
We are 4 in the family. So I'm the firstborn. He follows me. We have a sister who's in the US
Yes.
and another one.
Okay.
Yes, so we are actually 4 in the family.
All right. So
Yes.
you are the firstborn.
Yes.
He's the secondborn.
Yes.
What could the secondborn in our family, right? So what would you say about secondborns?
Secondborns,
We are kind. We are happy.
let me say they are a bit spoiled. Because as the firstborn, you see, you're already there, so you have to, like make sure the discipline.
Yes.
Yeah, because they tend to be, you know, like before he was okay, we were only the 2 of us.
Yeah.
So before you're born, you're the only one. Then someone else comes and now the attention is to this other person. Yeah, and then they get to be naughty. So I was the disciplinarian.
We get to be naughty. Nah, you guys, you just feel because you came to take all the attention away. Then they start projecting,
I think
right?
so, I think so. Because
So you go on.
okay, I think for me, I look up to my sister a lot.
Beautiful.
I think she has been a good pace setter and a good role model. I don't think I'm spoiled.
No, Bana.
When you are young, you are.
When you were young.
I used to give you all my meat because I never used to eat meat.
No way. God, Jenny, kwani how privileged was that? But how often was meat? How often was meat?
Well, I can't really say that we were poor. We were not rich either.
Yeah.
But we didn't lack.
Okay.
We used to stay, our mom was a single parent for most of our life, but we used to stay with our grandmother as well. So it was one big community home.
Yeah.
And we had a good childhood. We went to school, normal schools. We were walking to school. I remember, like me, I think I got my first bike when I was nearly a teen. So, well, it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
At least it was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there was there was love in the family. I really can't say that we missed a father figure as such, because our mom really played that role, and also the supporting relatives who are there, our grandmother, a few other relatives. It was a good childhood.
It was a good one, and I know Shosho, may she rest in peace. She's a very crucial. She's a very crucial person in today's conversation. But we'll get there. But you know the reason I asked you about meat, it's because I remembered the other day a scenario. Okay, as me, I've experienced life both ways. So when it's really down there, it's down. You know when nyama quarter used to be sold at 20 bob, 25 bob, and then you cut it into pieces, and then because it's me and my other 3 sisters plus my mom, so so we are 5. So when you're serving the meat, you gotta
You go
one,
one.
two, and then if you're the one who is cooking, you get the privilege of eating like 3 before they catch up. But I loved how you guys were talking about each other, and this is something we do way after the conversation, but maybe to kickstart our show, if you are to tell your brother something right now, what would it be?
For me, what I would tell him,
He's right there.
yeah, what I would tell him, what I would tell you, I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
Especially after what you've gone through, you are strong. So I'm really proud of you, and I admire the strength you had, because it's not easy. So I really admire the strength that you had.
Thank you.
So keep it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. I say, why end the show, then let you see that. So what would you want to tell her?
Wow, quite a lot. I think for me is you have been a pillar of strength. I remember when we were serving time and we would get to communicate through some means. You always had a word of encouragement for me. And not only there, I think even before all these things started, you've been someone that I've looked up to quite a bit of my life, and I try to model what I see from you. So you are a big part of my life, and I love you.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah. You know, I love that. That's so pure and it's so beautiful. But now let's get into the conversation. The theme of the show is dubbed rebuilding. So for you, what areas of your life are you rebuilding right now?
So the areas of my life I'm rebuilding, like when I got incarcerated, obviously I lost my job. I had worked for this company for 23 years. But now when I was incarcerated, there was no way they could keep me. So I had to, I had a good boss who decided, we are not going to dismiss you. You know, when you're incarcerated, I think you're dismissed. But they were lenient enough, and they decided to give me like an early retirement so that I don't lose my package. You can imagine 23 years having worked for a company. So at least I got a early retirement package. So for me, I'm trying now to rebuild myself after having lost 4 years. Okay, I don't have employment now, so I'm still in the process of actually thinking what to do next.
What's your area of expertise?
Business administration. I was a finance and administration coordinator.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, so I'm in the area of administration.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Bro.
For me, there are quite a number of areas that I'm rebuilding. One, of course, is family. It's not easy being away for 4 years from your people. Of course, by the time I was leaving, my sons were getting into teenagehood. Now you come back and you find that people already have their own life. They have their own lifestyle. And it's you to make that deliberate effort to plug in. It's not easy. I think also there's the issue of rebuilding with friends. There is that aspect of there are some people who never visited you. So is there a reason of keeping them in your phone book? Yeah. So there's a lot that for me personally I think I'm going through. One thing I'm really, really grateful is that I have a loving family.
Yes.
My sister here, my other siblings, my wife and my children. Some of the extended family, they've really been a pillar of strength. Church has also been a pillar of strength for me. And also some of the people that I met in prison.
Yeah.
We've formed a group where we meet to talk. I find that for somebody who's never experienced prison, they may not understand what I'm talking about. But having that, if I can call it like a family, there are things we can talk about, knowing where we've come from, and this person really feels you. And they're able to emphasize and you know, just give you encouragement
Yeah.
and ideas on how to navigate a few things.
Okay.
I'm also very grateful to the former company where I used to work, because after all this, they actually give me a second chance. And I rejoined them late October. So I'm actually 2 months on the job now.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So I really want to extend my regards to that company and to say thank you for that opportunity.
Yeah. Would I ask which company that is? Or it's confidential? Whichever.
I'd rather not now for now.
But they know themselves, so we just want to appreciate them on the show, because that's tough, you know, and they give you a second chance.
Exactly.
That's beautiful.
Exactly.
Carol, do you wanna talk about what's the name of your company, or if not, would you want to tell them anything?
Yeah, for me, I would also want to tell them thank you for that, because they believed in me. And when all this happened, they said, I don't think Carol would have done something like that. She has integrity. In fact, one of my core, what do they call them?
Values.
Core values in my, when we were doing our PMP reviews, was integrity and honesty.
Yes.
So every year, my integrity, honesty was always up. So when all this happened, they were like, we don't think Carol did this. And then you see in the company, I was in charge of payments. So if they said if Carol was to have been someone who has fraudulently done something, it cannot have been her, because she's handled so much payments and all that. So they actually believed in me.
Beautiful.
And they were so sorry when all this happened.
Good.
Yeah.
I love to know we still have such companies.
Yes.
But you said something, and that's now the audience are almost hitting me up. They're like, Lynn, what exactly did these people do? Like, what are we talking about, you know?
Yeah.
You said your company said they don't think Carol would have done something like this. So I want to give any of you an opportunity, or both of you, to now let's get deeper into the conversation. Okay. What is this that you are accused of doing? But before that, maybe take us back to growing up, so that we are able to understand how this deep relationship with your grandmother came about to any of you.
Okay, let me start. So we grew up in Kawangware. As he had mentioned, my mother was a single mother.
Yeah.
My mother, there were born two of them, my uncle and her. So we lived actually like in the same compound. So my mother died in 1993. So we were left in the care of my grandmother. I was 23 years then. And being the firstborn, almost all the responsibilities fell on me, because by that time my uncle was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So you can imagine now, my mom has died, and mostly she was the one in charge of the family. So when she died, so the next person in line now, it's me, because now at that time my grandmother was now old. So actually that is where now we were all living together. But now in 2004, my grandmother passed on. And from there, we were now left. Actually, then I had already moved out of the home. I had gotten married, but I still took care of the issues in the home, because basically I was in charge of everything or what was going on. So what happened after she died in 2004? A lawyer came and told us your grandmother had left her will. So we were called and told to assemble. Okay, he told me you have been named the executor of the will, and you're to assemble all the beneficiaries in the will. So he read out the names, my siblings, my uncle, and his son. So one day he came to the house and he read out the will. And from there he asked if any of us had issues. So nobody raised any issues. So he told us if nobody had any issues, I'm going now to go and go ahead and confirm the grant and process all that, whatever is required, so that the property can be distributed.
Yes.
So we left it at that. Then now in 2009, all this time, I remember I told you my uncle was an alcoholic. So sometimes I would be called and be told that your uncle has been seen, he's lying in a ditch and all that. So I took the step to take him to, we decided let's take him to a rehab. So we took him around 2008. We took him to a rehab in
Did he
Ngong.
have a family?
He had a family, but at that time they had separated with the wife.
Okay.
The wife was not living,
With him.
With him, yeah. So we took him to rehab. Then after rehab, I actually took him to my house, so that, you know, I was thinking if he goes back, he can relapse easily.
Yes.
So I decided, let me take him in, and I stayed with him like about a month. So after a month, he went back to his house. When he went back home, now in Kawangware, the son, then I would take care of him, like I would ensure he has food. I had even organized with a kiosk there and told them he can eat, then I'll come and pay. So one time I'm going to visit him, then the caretaker in that place tells me that your uncle has been, the wife has come and taken him and the sons. So now I wondered why, because he never communicated. Later, now I got a court summons telling me that he wants to contest the will.
First started with the chief.
Yeah, he had gone to the chief and said we are trying to disinherit him. And then later there was now a court summons telling us that we are supposed to be in court because he wants to contest the will. But now that was dismissed because he was told you're supposed to contest a will like 5 years before. This will was read in 2004 and now this is 2009. Yeah, so that was dismissed. And all was quiet then. But now in 2013 we were summoned. I remember receiving a call when I was in the office that you're required to be at the CID headquarters.
This is now 2014.
2013. Yes.
Okay.
No, you see, that is 5 years.
Yes.
Almost. Yeah, 5 years after.
So
So my brother was also called and we were told we are supposed to report to the CID offices. So we went because we didn't, I mean, we didn't think there's anything. So we went. So when we got there, they told us, we want you to write a statement because your uncle is claiming you had forged a will. So for us, we wrote down all what we knew about about how the lawyer came, read out the will, and asked if anyone had issues. Nobody raised any issues. So the lawyer went ahead and did whatever he was supposed to do. So, okay, we wrote the statement and we were told, okay, you go back home. After I think about 2 weeks, they called us back again. So we went back. So this time they told us, they held us in an office and told us, you have been charged with forgery of a will and you're not leaving this office without a cash bill of 50,000 each. So for us that was shocking because we were like, I mean, how we haven't done anything. But now they told us you're supposed to be in court on Monday. So we managed to raise the 50-50. We called people and they brought us.
Okay.
So by that time we had already been now transferred to Kilimani police station.
Haraka hivyo.
Because sasa lazima mlipiwe hiyo ndio mtoke. So we were actually put in the cells waiting now for the payment to come in. So when we paid the cash bill, now we were released and told to report the court on Monday now to plead whether we are guilty or not.
Okay.
Yeah. So that Monday we went. Of course, you read out the charges, and of course he said we are not guilty, and we were given a cash bill of 50,000. So the same like the one we had.
Yeah.
So from 2013, the case now started. The case proceeding started. Yeah. Now up until 2019.
Okay.
When judgment was given.
So you, they are telling you to go. In the will you are named the executor.
Yes.
Why is he there in the mads and where are the rest of your two siblings in that whole equation?
So for them, why he was there, because he's a beneficiary. So for what my uncle claimed is that we had planned to
both of
us to conspire and defraud him, because actually I think maybe he got what he didn't expect. Because if I can take you back, when my grandmother died, they were actually not in good books with my uncle, because she died and chased my uncle away. Because what happened is that when my mom was sick, there was a time they had a confrontation with my uncle. And my uncle went to the market and bought a gourd. And I understand, a pot, not a gourd, a pot. And I understand in Kikuyu custom, if you come and break a pot, it's like you're cursing.
Yes.
So what he did, he came with a pot and dropped it outside our house and told my mom that, like, wacha hivyo unajifanya uko mgonjwa. I think something like utangojeka zaidi. So I think that thing, my grandmother took it that these people, because like after a month, my mom died. So it's like my grandmother took this thing like, you
To
are the
heart.
people who have killed,
My
you have
daughter.
killed my daughter. And that is when he chased my uncle and his wife out of her property. But now when she died, I am the one who brought my uncle back, because now you hear when I was being told analewa, ana nini. So for me, we brought him because my grandmother had the house, and then that plot has rental units. These one single units. So I brought him and we put him up in one of the units. And that's when now we started caring for him also. And that during this process is when now we thought, let's take him for rehab. Yeah. And now you see, after rehab is when he comes back now, the wife, now they collude now with the wife and they go away. And now they start these court issues, yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So now after you get, now you understand there's already a court case.
Yes.
And this is family. Are you calling the uncle? Are you asking him, uncle, kwani, what's up? Are you engaging? Are you talking? Are you having conversations?
Yeah, okay, for me, I know I tried once or twice, but it backfired. And it backfired in a way whereby he actually went to his lawyers and said that I'm trying to influence him. So I was like, okay, what is this guy really talking about? And I think I was like, okay, if you really want us to fight in court,
Let's do it.
let's do it. Because we knew we were innocent. And during the court process, actually, one of the things that no one really understands is, like my sister said, my grandmother had left a will. So we actually traced the advocate who had drafted the will and who actually brought it to my grandmother to sign. But because she was bedridden at that time, she had to put a thumbprint. So we traced that advocate. And she was one of our witnesses. And she came to the court and actually gave her evidence, accompanied by an affidavit, and said that this is actually my work. I'm the one who worked on this document. And the reason I'm so certain about it is because on the last page, there are some details that are written by hand. When she was coming, she didn't know who the witnesses would be. So she got those details now later when she was with my grandmother and she called her two other ladies to be her witnesses. So she took down their details by hand. So that was there. So when when the judgment was actually being pronounced and we were told that we were guilty, we were like, I mean, you can't say this. If the lawyer, or rather the advocate who wrote or drafted this will came and actually said, this is my work, how is my sister and I, how are we guilty? So I think at that particular time when the judgment was being read is when it really hit home that there's something very strange that is happening. And I remember looking at my sister and asking her, are you hearing what this lady is talking about? Because again, the magistrate was a lady. And I was like, the way she's joining some words, this is not going to end well. So by the time she's saying you guys are guilty, for me, I had already gotten that sense, but I couldn't believe it. And some of the things that were now going through my mind is, what happens to my family? In 2019 is when my firstborn had just joined Form 1. And it was a time where, you know, that's the time when a boy needs his father. And I'm being told I'm going to be sentenced to 7 years. I'm like, how? who's going to take care of my children? These kids are young. Okay, he was in Form 1.
Yes.
The other one was in Class 6. The little girl was in baby class. So I had quite a lot of issues that were running through my mind. I know also my sister had her own things, but for me, I think I was lost in my world, not trying to understand and believe that actually this is what it has now come to. Yeah.
All right, we will get deeper to the reaction and of course the judgment, but let's talk about the legalities here. The prosecution, what evidence were they relying on? What evidence did they produce to say, because they say forgery, so what exactly did they say you forged during the trial period?
So while we were initially we were accused of 3 counts. One was forgery of a will, second was forgery of a consent, the third was conspiracy to defraud.
Yes.
So forgery was of a will. They said we had forged the will, and then what really didn't come out, how did we forge? Because my grandma, it was a thumbprint.
Yes.
So from there you would wonder, so how did any of us, how was this thumbprint, how have we forged? Okay, forgery of a consent. A consent is this document. Once a will has been read out, the beneficiary signs saying we've agreed the property to be distributed as per the will. My uncle had signed, but he later said that's not his signature. So the third count of conspiracy, that one was dropped because who did we conspire? We are only the 2 of us. So who is the third? There must have been a third person. So that was dropped. So we were left with the consent and the whatever. So what happened? The signature they claim, my uncle says he didn't sign. So what he did is one of the prosecution witness was the handwriting expert, who said that was not my uncle's signature. And yet, when you see the signature he had put, it was just a different signature. It's just like the way you and me, I can have 2 signatures.
Yes.
One I use like for bank matters, a serious one, and one for. So what my uncle did, he didn't sign the same signature he had signed on the consent. So they claimed that was. But what didn't come out is, so who forged? We were not checked. The handwriting expert did not ask us to sign somewhere and he compares. So none of that was done. So now for the will, as I told you, it was a thumbprint. So how did any of us, I mean, because forgery I believe is maybe you sign or you do, but none of that was. But now their defense, their prosecution witness was a handwriting expert. There was a document, was it document reader or something like that? They are document examiner. So those were the ones they.
Yes.
And then there was an ID they used, which we later came to know that ID was not my grandmother's, because what they were doing, they were comparing that ID, the fingerprint on the ID with the fingerprint on the will. But this was not on the thumb. But now we later came to find out this ID they were using was not my grandmother's. They were using an ID for a lady known as Josephine Wamboi Ndungi.
Okay.
My grandmother is Josephine Wamboi Mwangi. And there's no way they can come out. But at that point, they insisted that was her ID.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask, how strong was your defense? Because I'm thinking in matters where you have a sign reader or whatever, would your lawyer not object to the fact that, okay, let's do the trials, let's also do the signing? How strong was your defense?
Okay, I think our defense was quite strong. Like I've said, we highlighted, starting with the advocate who had drafted the will. I mean, that for us was, this is the game changer.
Yes.
This is
a key witness.
Yes. Because if this person comes and says, I am the one who worked on this document, then there's really
under oath.
Yeah, under oath. Then there's no really any evidence to put us as the forgers, because there's somebody who's actually stood and said, this is my work.
And she actually said, that's my handwriting on the last page.
Yes.
So for us, we were like, I mean, this is someone who has already, so there's no way this cannot turn out against us.
But it did.
Yeah.
It did. The second one was the issue of the ID that they used to generate the thumbprint. Which, of course, if I put my thumbprint on a document and then I use your ID to go and get from the register of persons a thumbprint which is yours, there's no way they are going to match.
Yes.
So that's what the prosecution dwelt with, that this is actually forged. But we were like, this is not the actual ID. This is our grandmother's ID because we had a copy.
Yes.
Why not go and use this ID to generate and command?
And they did not.
And they did not. And these were actually now some of the matters that we also raised in our first appeal at the High Court. And unfortunately, also even there, it was not taken into consideration until now we went to the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
Because all through, we maintained our innocence. And because we knew we were innocent. So we went through all the proper legal channels to try and clear our names.
Okay. Yes. Let's go back to the judgment. Now this one, the judgment has been read. You know you are going to prison. They gave you 7 years.
7 plus 3.
7 plus what?
Plus 3, because there were 2 counts.
How do they calculate these things?
But they were to run concurrently.
Yeah.
So that was 7 plus 3.
Yeah.
How was that day like for you and your family during the judgment, and were any of your family members present?
Maybe, Lynn, I could take you back to the day of this day of judgment and this day of sentencing.
Yes.
So the day of judgment is now when you are told you've been found guilty, and so your cash bail is withdrawn and you're told now you'll be remanded. So I was taken to Langata remand, and my brother was taken to industrial area. So for me, that was a shocker, because I remember it was 17th. I'll never forget that day, 17th of May, 2019. It was actually my daughter's birthday. So I had even taken leave, and she accompanied me, because the plan was after the court, we would go buy cake, and then
you knew you were innocent.
And I knew we were innocent. So we had already planned for the day. This would be end, and we are going home, buy cake, and celebrate your birthday. But it never took place. So when the judge pronounced, we sentence you. No, not sentence. You've been found guilty, and now your cash bail has been withdrawn. You'll be remanded. So for me, that was like, you're in shock. Like, is this really happening? But now they told us, okay, now you come back for sentencing in 2 weeks. So we still there was this still hope that, like, okay, despite being found guilty, maybe the judge will be lenient. Because in our mitigation, like for me, the judge, my lawyer had said she's single, she's a widow, she's the breadwinner. So for me, I would have expected in the sentencing a lenient, something like an uncustodial sentence or a fine.
Yeah, probation, just
probation,
something.
Something. This is a first time, okay, one of the mitigation, this is a first time offender, because now this time, okay, since you've been found guilty, now you're mitigating as an offender. So this is a first time, whatever. So for me, that was a shock, especially when I think we were pronounced guilty, my daughter just screamed in court. And then coming out, now you're being, immediately, you don't go back to your people, you're taken behind there. Immediately. So now that you can imagine, now they are coming now behind to see you. And they know we are not going back with mom.
And it's her birthday.
So for her, it was such a sad day. And then now you're being told you're going to climb. They are looking at you and you're climbing. I think we were climbing a lorry. There was those lorries. Now you're being pushed in to climb into those. The scene was devastating. Especially when the people tell me they couldn't believe it. People who are there. When they saw that scene, they always remember. And they are like, they can't believe it.
You can't believe it.
Yeah.
And for you?
For me, Okay, at some point, I'd tried to reach my wife. She was unreachable. She had gone for a session. But later on, I'd sent a message, and I left my phone with my niece. And when she called back, and she was informed what has happened, she came to Kibera, and she also gathered a couple of people, our neighbors, our support system. And at that time, it was okay for me. It was now that thing of, you're now trying to give directions, because I was also the single breadwinner for the family. So I was giving directions on, okay, this is here, this is here, this is here, because I've never experienced prison. It was quite overwhelming. The way you can wake up and it's bright and shiny and everything, or rather like when you're seated in a house, it's in the evening, there are lights, then blackout. You can't find your way, you're just trying to, feel around.
Yes.
That's how it was for me. It was quite an emotional time.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was being taken now into the bus to go to industrial area. I looked at my nephew, my niece, my wife, and a couple of friends, and tears just started flowing, because for me it was, this is the end. Okay, it really looked like the end for me, because I didn't know what to expect on the other side. I've had very many stories about prison. And so at that particular time, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a criminal. One of the things I actually remember thinking is whenever I would see a prison bus, I would look at it and I was like, those guys are guilty.
Sawale.
These ones are guilty. I mean, there's no way the court can get it wrong. So if you're in that bus, you're guilty. Only for me to find myself in that bus and know that I'm actually not guilty, but here I am. So it also changed my mentality completely. Yes.
And now you go, this is your first time, of course you are waiting sentencing, but hey, jela ni jela. How was it? I know, boys, you watch a kucheka, me, I dread those. Me, I always say, I can't tell you kuntakosea. Nipate to asylum because I can't. Like I have you usha dread kid too?
It's a culture. Let me tell you, Lynn, it's a culture shock.
Yes.
Where you're used to be in control of your life. Now you're being controlled. The first thing unaingia ni kuambiwa toa hizo nguo pale. Now you're searched.
Yes.
Alafu sasa unaletewa hizo za stripes. Uvae. Then I remember that day now at remand we were taken into a cell. There were several other people. A small cell, but many people. So for me, I was like, for me, that time it looked like a dream. You know, the way you think this is something you'll wake up and find,
it's a movie.
It was, this wasn't happening. So we were locked up in a cell, but later I was taken to, they call them wards. Wards is like a dome where we were sleeping. I was told to sleep up. The beds are joined. No, 2 people are there, but you sleep in the middle because it's congested. So that's how it was for the 2 weeks.
Yes.
So, but at least people would come. Now you see everyone is shocked. Carol has been whatever. So your workmates, church people. So it was a hive of activity those 2 weeks. So everybody wants to come. People are not believing. So it was such a hype of activity. And then for me, I'm still clinging on that hope. When we are going for sentencing, something I'm not going to stay here. So after the 2 weeks, now on the day of sentencing, I remember also 6th of June.
Yeah.
Those dates I don't think I'll ever forget. 6th of June 2019. So we are there waiting now, sentence. Of course, for me, I'm saying either it's an uncustodial or a fine, and then we go home. So the judgment is read and hereby sentence you to 7 years with no option of a fine. So that one now devastated me. That is now when I knew this is serious. It's not the way we were thinking. This is something serious. So of course now people were crying or what, and then now the same thing, now you're being taken now to one of those buses. So it was such a heartbreaking moment, because now everybody was expecting we are coming out either in a, but then as a first time offender or someone you know hasn't done, and with the evidence which was given, you're expecting the judge at least should have been lenient, but they gave us the 7 years.
And now life in prison begins.
Now life in prison begins.
Oy.
Yeah.
Where was Anko around during any of this? The judgment,
Oh yes.
the sentencing?
He was.
And what
the
was
whole
he?
family was, his whole family was there. And they were coming, I think for them they were coming to witness even, I think the worst. Because later now when I got into prison with all the parallel, is when I came to, you know, this offense, the maximum a judge can give you is life. Because this is forgery, not a normal document like a bank check.
A will.
This is a legal document. Like a will is a legal document. So you can be sentenced even up to life.
It's that tough.
Yes.
Yeah, my
So
people.
even when they were reading out the judgment, it's like the judge said that the whatever is the maximum is life, but I've given you 7 years to show how lenient they were. So for me it was a shocker. Like, you mean we could have even been sentenced to for life. So it was so now life in prison began, where now you start accepting. But I still had hope. You know, you're given the 14 days. You have 14 days to appeal. Yeah. So for us now, we were now basing on the appeal. So now our lawyers started acting on the appeal, and then now Corona came, things slowed down. Because from 2019 June now we started filing the appeal, but the judgment was done in 2020, April 2020. And of course,
Can I just say something
Yes,
about
please.
that
Yeah.
appeal? You see, when the judge says, or the magistrate says, you have 14 days to appeal, normally you think that it's 14 days. And for us, okay, for me personally, I was like, 14 days. So on the 15th, I'll be home. I mean, it's, if these things work the way they're supposed to,
Yes.
only to get a shock that within actually the first 6 months, we couldn't even get the proceedings, which have to be typed. And then now because you can't file an appeal without the proceedings.
Yes.
So we had to wait for quite, I think about 4 to 5 months before we got the proceedings.
So why the delay?
When we followed up, we were told that there's actually a lot of backlog at Kibera, and so the judgments could not be typed as fast. But that is not, it was not unique for us. That's what happens. I remember there's actually a friend of mine who I'm trying to get his proceedings, and I've been chasing from June this year. We are in December. So for 6 months, they haven't moved. So for the judge to say that you have 14 days, for us it looked like, I mean,
2 weeks and
2 weeks.
Things are done.
Yeah. But within 5 months, we hadn't moved any step at all.
Why?
So our process for the first appeal actually started late November 2019, after we've already spent about 5 months in prison.
In prison. Let's talk about life in prison. How was that? It must have been a very painful experience for you.
It was for the male prisoners. I think we have it a bit rough in this country. There is a lot of congestion within the prison system. There is a lot of lack of facilities. you find where you are supposed to be, let's say 100, you'd be like 300 or 250. And that's on a good day. Sometimes that number would even go up to 400. So there's a lot of congestion, lack of facilities. The treatment by the warders is also not the best, because you are once you set foot in prison, regardless of how you arrived, you are a prisoner. So you have to abide by the rules that are given by the prison officials. So for me, I think it was quite an adjustment period. Having come from a situation whereby I do things the way I want. Now you are under rule. You only have to do this at this time, in this way, in this other way. But I think the best thing, or rather one of the things that I can advise people is, when you have an open mind and you are ready to embrace change, because you don't know what happens tomorrow. So once you accept a couple of things, then it becomes a bit easy. Where I was at Nairobi West Prison. It wasn't as bad as many other prisons that I've had, but prison is prison. One of the things that I really missed a lot was being with my family. We were very close-knit family, and we normally had these traditions. Every 3 months, my family and my sister's family and our other siblings would meet for a session of prayers, having fun, going for lunch together. Every 3 months. It was actually something that we had diarized. There was the issue of game nights within the family. You know, every Friday we'd have a game night, Saturdays movie night, you know. Lunches and dinner, and then all that now has come to an end. So it was quite a blow for me. I remember one time really thinking and saying, it's a good thing that the mind does not erase like a tape recorder. You know, when you play a tape recorder so many times, it erases. But at least with the mind, those are the memories that actually kept me going. You know, when you remember how you used to take holidays, how you used to meet with your people, the lunches you'd do, the jokes you'd crack. So that kept me going. And it gave me hope that there's a better tomorrow. Of course, it wasn't easy. And especially when the corona period came and there was a lockdown. Oh, that was some of the worst period that I've ever gone through. Because we would get to a point even supplies end. You don't have soap. You don't have toothpaste. The basics. Some things that you actually take for granted.
Discover a homely haven at Ocean View Ridge in Vipingo by Optiven. Visualize your dream coastal home. Call us today on 0790 300 300.
I thank the churches and some of the sponsors who actually used to visit prison at that particular time, because they were a lifeline to so many people. Yeah.
And for you, Carol, visiting days?
Yeah, for me, maybe I didn't mention, when I got into prison that week, my son had just joined university. For us now to be declared that Friday. So we had registered him that week. So for me it was, you know, he had been in boarding school, high school. So I knew now this is the time I want to see him now as a teenager. I want to be there for him, but it never happened. Now this happens. So now you have to do the remote parenting while in prison. So for me, as he says, the attitude, especially after the first appeal was dismissed. So now where as a believer, I decided, now God take control. You know why this is happening. If you didn't want us to get here, we wouldn't have gotten. But there must be something. You want us either to learn. So that kept me, my faith kept me going, knowing God is in control. And then also, as it says, positive attitude. Because we are told in life, things will happen, but the way you react matters. So I decided to take now everything positively, open-minded. So when I got to prison, in Langata, you have a reception board where the head of departments, they meet you, the new prisoners, especially long-term prisoners. So they'll ask you, so what happened, your level of education. It's like an interview. So I told them, yeah, I'm a graduate with business administration. So the head of the school told me, I'll take you, you'll come to school. You're going to help me teach business studies from 1 and 2. So I was like, I've never taught before. So she told me, you're going to learn. So my duty was in school, so I was teaching now from 1 and 2 business studies. And then also in the church, I became the church secretary. So these things kept me going. You know, now you embrace, now it's like you wake up, you go to work, so that at least you're busy, your mind is not wherever. And then also visiting. Okay, the visiting, they would come where you visit. You know, after Corona, they closed the contact visit. So it was, and you see them the window, that small window there. And then you see it's not audible, you can't hear them well. So my children would come there and we talk. So later, like when I came out is when my son would come, but he wouldn't even want to come close. Like, so later I was asking him, why were you not? He told me, Mom, you know, I didn't even want to come there because when we left, when we leave, I used to feel so bad. Actually, I didn't even want to look you in the eyes because I used to feel so bad. Because I remember, yeah, so I mean, he was actually confessing and telling me, Mom, I mean, those were the most difficult periods for me. When my sister says, I mean, like, let's go and see Mom. So I was like, oh no, we'll see her and then we leave her there. So it was such a difficult period. And then also I said the culture shock. Like now you're in a ward of 48 people, at least the women, we were not so many like the men, but still it's a ward. It's one toilet, which is the same as the bathroom. So you can imagine culture shock where you have to, you're using the same, this is something you're not used to. Like if you're pressed, there's someone showering, you have to go in. So you see, even, I mean, it's dehumanizing, yes, but you get used to it. And of course, the meals, porridge in the morning. In the lunchtime, you get the ugali and a big skuma, which is boiled. In the evening, it's ugali and boiled beans.
Something has always bothered my mind. Being an agricultural country where we actually have vegetables, what's the whole thing with one mahuti, like one vegetable, like
I don't understand.
What's the thing with this whole leaf, like what's the thing with actually not you being able to make proper food for people?
Yeah, like you can have fried skumas. I mean, you can give people.
You can actually make skuma na nyanya, like actually really good skumas na ugali.
Maybe it's maybe it's a sort of punishment because you're being punished for something that's that's a punishment. Yes. Okay. You're not supposed to have good life. But the good thing, with Langata,
not punished.
You are not punished.
It's supposed to be rehabilitation.
Even so, your stomach is also getting the rehabilitation.
So with Langata, if you have money, you could buy these now foods which were being sold where you can get the fried cabbage, the fried skuma, you can get omena, such things. But that one you buy. So if you don't have money, unajipanga.
You mentioned church. At what point do you still continue trusting God, even during your darkest? Haukuwa na maswali, God si ulijua kufanya hii kitu, ningeweka ujudge wisdom, ama like whatever, like did you have those moments of doubts where you are like, God, why?
Yeah, initially I did, and I was like, God, why is this happening? Like for me, I was like, I've already gone through much in life. I lost my mom at an early age. I lost my husband. Now, you know, I feel like, God, why are you punishing me? What have I done? So for me, it looked like God is punishing me. But I reached at a point through prayers, through counseling. Now, when you get to know God's will, He can let you pass through issues.
The storm.
Either to manifest Himself or either like He wants you to learn something. So that is what kept me going, knowing at the end of this, whether I'll finish the sentence or whether I'll come out before, there's something like God wants me to know. So that's what kept me strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and for you, how was your faith?
At first it got tested. I remember when I was in those cells at Kibera before we went to industrial area, I really had a lot of questions at that particular time. And I was, you know that debate you normally have within yourself. Mi si mbaya sana, you know. I used to serve in church. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a Bible study leader at that particular time within our estate. I was like, and I've done all this, but this has still happened. I had a lot of questions, but I thank God because when I got to industrial area that first day, where the ward that I was taken, at about 5:15, I saw some guys congregating into a corner, and they started singing hymns, and they started praying, and all the burden that I had from that particular day and all the questions that I had, I felt them just melting. It was momentary because at night, when now you have to now look at where you are sleeping, those those doubts come again. And you're like, yeah, God, yani, this is where you've seen is best for me. It was really, really a trying time. But I thank God that I never gave up. Yes. There's a very strong church in prison. And I really must commend the chaplains who work in prison. And the Spirit of God that really moves in prison. Because even by the time when I got convicted, I knew it wasn't the end. Because I'd already interacted with people who have been in remand for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and they're like, all this will end. I remember the time now we were going for sentencing. When I'd told them, okay, I'm going for sentencing, I'm hoping I'll be released and everything. And they were like, we wish you the best. But even though it doesn't happen, you are still going to be an ambassador wherever you go. So when I came back and I told them, hey, I've actually been convicted for 7 years. They were like, it is well. I was like, okay, you can say it's well, but for me, really, it's not well. It's not well.
Hiyo kitu ya it's well inakujanga time mbaya. When you know it's not, stop saying it's well. It's not well.
It's not well.
Yeah.
But I thank God that over time, I was able to overcome anger. I was able to overcome bitterness. I think for me, it really, my anger and bitterness was manifesting themselves when I had to go and get a haircut. I love my hair. Yeah. And you know, now when you're outside here, you can choose where you want to go to get your hair done, how you want it done, you know, all those things. Now there, ni kunyolewa bila maji. Na kuna style. So I think for me, that is the time I would really get angry, knowing that I'm actually going through this because of somebody's greed, and I would get so bitter. But over time,
Yes.
I think also prayers, counseling, you know, just relying on God.
It helps.
Helps. And all that came to pass.
Okay.
I can confidently say that I don't have a grudge. I don't hold a grudge against my uncle. Yes, he did bad, but I don't hold that grudge. I think time has healed me. But there was a time I was saying huyu ningekutana na yeye
Angejua man.
angejua.
Yeah, visiting days. I think from a previous interview, what broke my heart, as I was saying in the introduction, was the thought of your daughter coming to see you. Given she had to be lifted,
to be lifted,
to be able to even see daddy.
Yeah,
and
that. I don't like remembering those scenes.
So you don't have to talk about it.
No, it's okay. I can talk. See, like I've said, by the time I was being convicted, she was in baby class. She was, but think about 3.5, 4 years old, and she'd come. Of course, she's wondering why can't I go and talk to daddy?
Yes.
Why is this separation? Yeah. And since she's little. She was little at that point. She had to be lifted up. You know, either my sons or the mother would lift her and would talk. Now, the bad thing about the prison visits is if you're being visited at a time when there are multiple guys also being visited, it's now you have to shout because it's not like an enclosed cubicle.
It's not.
It's a one hallway. And the other people, it's also one hallway, so it's just 2 glasses that are partitioning. So you have to shout, you can't understand, uski vizuri, you're told one thing, you hear another. When you call to clarify, you're like, oh, si uliniambia hivi. You're like, I didn't say that. What I meant was this. So there was a lot of really a confusion. That remote parenting really, okay, for me it didn't work that well. Yeah. Of course, when Corona came, there was no contact visits, so those ones were shut off. And for like close to 2 years, I actually didn't see my children for 2 years because they couldn't visit. We could talk on phone once in a while through the welfare phone, but also even that phone is monitored, and there's a time period. You can't talk. I can't sit and talk for 10 minutes. It's 3 minutes. Let us see more. So what can you tell your loved ones in 3 minutes? Really?
In 3 minutes.
There's no
Really.
time. Yeah.
You know, you also told me earlier you became, the way you said you are a teacher, you even told me you are a teacher to one of the previous guests we featured here, Grace on Tales of Wanjiku. Does it, because she's doing, I want to believe where she is right now, she's doing good. And when you see some of the people that you impacted through your lectures, you know, through your business lectures, how does that make you feel though?
It makes me feel good. Say at least there's something I did, there's a purpose why I went there and I impacted people. Because even like when I'm in Langata, they call me Teacher Caro. Even now, if I meet someone who calls me Teacher Caro, I would know that is a Langata person. Remember. So they call me Teacher Caro, and I am happy to have impacted because for me, when I went to prison is when I realized there are people who never went. Okay, they didn't really go to school up to the levels where, because I'm out here, I assume like everyone you go to class 8, you finish, you go to secondary. But when I got to prison, I realized like most people don't complete their schooling. Most of them live at class 8, or you go to Form 1, Form 2, but you don't really. So I was glad to have made an impact on the ones who are there. Yes. All right. And they appreciate. Yes. Yeah. Because you see this, it's not something you're being paid to do. This is your duty. Hakuna kulipwa. Hii ni duty yako. Hapa ni pale. Unaona vile watu wamepelekwa jikoni, shamba.
That's you now.
Yeah. So for me it was a privilege because there was also a very nice library within the school. It had very nice books. So I really kept myself busy reading motivational books. Then I also became the librarian there. So for me, I really kept myself busy, just to keep myself sane.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about redemption. Walk us through maybe the appeal or the statement or the letter that finally came through and you are like, oh my God, we are going home.
So after the
Okay.
want to say
Okay. Okay, we've said that previously we had the first appeal that was in the year 2020, which was dismissed, and we were told that we have to continue with our sentence. But we were not, how do I put it? We were not, had kutosheka na hiyo. So we were like, no, we have to go the next step. What else can we do? So we discussed and we said we have to go to the Court of Appeal. At that particular point, Carol had retained her own counsel and I had my own counsel. But we were of the common mind.
Yes.
We want to go and clear our names. And one of the things that my lawyer did is he decided to look at this case a bit critically, and he was like, we've used the same argument in the first court, it was dismissed. We used it again at the High Court, it was dismissed. What can we do differently this time? Yes, we are still pursuing this case, but what can we do differently? So sometime last year, he wrote a letter to the DPP, laying down all the facts about the case, the way it started, all the evidence, and what we are arguing about. And by the grace of God, somebody actually looked at it. I know the DPP receives a lot of communication and letters and everything. But this particular time, somebody actually looked at it and they did their own investigation. And they, in their letter back to my lawyer, they said that they actually see that the way this case was conducted from the word go had a flaw. Because none of the evidence that we gave was considered. And so they wrote back to us, my lawyer and her lawyer, and said actually that from their point, it looks like the investigating officer was hell-bent to ensure that we end up in prison. That's why some of the evidences were really not considered. I remember I received that email, that letter on the 17th of March this year, which was actually my birthday. And
wait, so 17th March is your birthday, 17th June, May is
my
your daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
It's a 17th family somewhere.
yes, actually even one of my son is also 17th.
You see? Who else? Okay.
Yeah. So it was quite a relief.
Yeah.
Though that was now one step.
Good.
It's one step that the DPP has acknowledged. I remember the day that I got, at that time I was working at Nairobi West, I was working as a carpenter. That's the gang that had been set to. So I went back and I told my guys, hey, there's something that has happened over here. Ebu angalieni barua. And people were very happy. Later on now, when we went back to the wards, I remember my first stop was going to the church, because I was also serving in church. I was doing the discipleship for the new believers, and I was also the vice chairman. So I gathered a couple of guys and we actually prayed over that letter and said that wherever this letter needs to go, let it open the doors that it needs to, so that we can get our freedom. You can continue from there.
Yeah, maybe you can mention that. I can mention that the wait between getting Court of Appeal, this is a 3-judge bench. So before you get a date, and you know there were no judges during this period, the president had not appointed. So you can imagine from 2020, after the first appeal was dismissed, we got a date in February of 2023. That's when we got the first date at the Court of Appeal. So all this waiting, you can imagine, that is when you know how now, wait patiently, waiting for God to act.
Yes.
Yeah?
They say patience is a fruit,
Oh,
right?
yes,
Of the Holy
it's the
Spirit.
fruit of the Holy Spirit.
It's gotta come
So
through
that
now.
patience was really,
Yes.
that patience was really tested. So we had to wait until February. That's when we got our first date at the Court of Appeal.
Yeah.
And it's during this period that the prosecution said they want to carry out further investigation. So this is when now in March they issued the letter which is saying, which said that they have seen there's a flaw. Yeah. So now after that we wait. Now we got another date in April, but April it didn't take place. The judges were away. So we were given a date in May. In May, they were now to give us their judgment, but they told us they were not ready. The judgment is not ready, so we wait. So actually between May now, we were like, okay,
Whatever
now
happens,
let's wait.
happens.
Yeah. So now on 9th of June, I remember I was going about my daily activities in school. I'm called in the morning, Carol, you're going to court. So for me, I was like, even my lawyer has not informed me. I was told, yeah, unaenda kotini, jitayarishe utoke. So we went. The court was being held virtually at the remand section. So we went there. So that is when now the judgment was read out, and when I heard those words like, you have been set free forthwith, because they say now the prosecution had already confirmed you guys were wrongly convicted, and now you have been set free forthwith. Those, I think, were the nicest words I'd had. I just said, God, thank you, thank you. Yes. I remember I called, I told the madam we were with at the court, I told her, please, madam, please give me your phone. I just informed my daughter. So the madam was telling me, no, I can't give you the phone. I only give if you're talking to a lawyer. And I'm like, let me just inform her. So she agreed. So I'm calling my daughter, telling her, hey, Sandra, imagine we've been acquitted. Then she was, how? Were you going to court? Say, yeah, we were called this morning. So my daughter just started crying. It was so emotional. So I told her, okay, I'll call you later. So now it was just emotions. People are being called.
Yeah.
My sister in the US is called. Her, she's calling people. She's crying, you know.
Wait, I swear these are
We've
tears
been-
of joy.
And it was after 4 years and
Yeah.
23 days.
Yeah.
So that day was just phone calls. What? So for us, okay, I didn't know like how soon, because sometimes you go to court, you're freed, but the release order doesn't come the same day. It can even come like a week. You find people who have already, you have been released in court,
But the order
but the
is not
prison
yet there.
hasn't gotten the order. But by evening, our order came. And I'm being called, I'm in the ward, I'm being told, Carol, come to the office. Then I go, enda uchukue vitu zako sahi, unaenda nyumbani. So earlier in the day, I had called my daughter and told her, so you just bring me some clothes, because I don't know when we will let them stay here, because whatever time we will go. So she had actually come, like brought the clothes. So on her way back is when now my brother's wife called and asked her, have you gone to pick your mom? Says no, they've been released. So she had to turn back now and come
And pick you.
and pick me. So they were there outside, because I remember I left Langat around 7 in the evening. So
Which is very unusual.
which is very unusual, by the way, because a prisoner you're not released after 6.
Yes.
But for us, by 7 I was coming out of the prison gates. I found my daughter and son there waiting for me. So it was just emotional, embracing, crying. Because I remember my daughter told me when now she received the news, she told my son, ati Billy, mom has been released. Billy was, why wacha kuniambia mnasemaga hivyo na hakuji. So she told him, wacha utaongea na mom atakwambia. So when I called, I told him, yeah, Billy, we are coming home. So my daughter tells me he went and locked himself and sobbed. I think all these years, the sob, he really sobbed, those heavy sobs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was so emotional.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
Okay. And for you, bro?
For me, I like looking at it and remembering the story of Joseph.
Yeah.
He woke up as a prisoner, but in the evening he slept in a palace. And for me, that's how it was. Because like my sister is saying, I wasn't aware that we were going to court.
Yeah.
So me, I've woken up, I've gone to my gang.
Yeah.
I was actually the prefect of the industry gang. And that day, it was a Friday, so I'd actually just told the guys, this is the way we need to do stuff, this is our duties for today and everything. And then I was told, you're going to court. I was like, eh? Then the guy was like, I'm not asking, I'm actually telling you, you're going to court. It's like, oh, okay, sawa. And having had that experience whereby you go and you are told, okay, your case is not ready, come back on a certain day. I was those ones of, okay, ni sawa tu. And then now when the justice started reading the judgments and everything, and then when it came to ours, and those words, we've quashed the sentence, we've set aside what was it? Can't remember the floor of the whatever. All I heard is that you are free. or rather, that's how it translated in my mind.
Carol, hands for me, hands for
Set free, hold hands, forthwith.
Forthwith. Umesikia free. And I remember looking at the screen because you could see it, it was a Zoom call. So you could see Langata and I could see my sister there. She has this big smile. Me huku ndani tunasikia tu yes. Oh, I was so thankful, so grateful to God for that day. And actually, we woke up in prison, but we didn't sleep in prison. Yes. The funny thing, I also now, it came to hit me later, is that on May 17th, when I left home, it was on a Friday. So I'd told guys, I'm going to court, I'll see you guys in the evening. But this evening, I saw them back, was after 4 years and 23 days, which was also on a Friday evening. Because I also got home around 7. So it was, you leave on a Friday morning, you come back on a Friday evening. But in between, what you've gone through
is the story of Joseph.
Yes. But I thank God, I thank God. Because like my sister is saying, when you have that positive attitude,
it's a mindset.
It's a mindset. It won't, then you can take whatever comes in a positive way. The 4 years were not easy, but looking at us, you can't tell, because God has given us the grace to get through over it. There are people who stay outside for 10 years, lakini ukimwangalia bado unajua huyu alikuwa jela. But as guys, I think God has really shielded us and has given us the grace. He's given us the love of family and the grace and the love also of people from church that we've been able to overcome even what the devil meant for bad in our lives.
Good. Yes. Reintegration back in the society, how was that like?
Okay, for me, as you said, that support system from family, from the church, you know, people who always stood by you, they know this is not something you did. And they knew our family dynamics. They knew, like for me, they knew, most of them knew how we had taken care of my uncle. So even most of them would ask, this is the same uncle who you took care of? Then I'm like, yeah, this is the same person. So that really helped, that reintegration. Although it wasn't easy, like for me, I remember like the first month, I couldn't come out at night. I had like, you know, now you are used to being locked up at 6. So you don't see outside, you don't see the night. So for some time I didn't really come out like at night. Even now I'm not comfortable. I've been out in the night. But this is something which is wearing off. Like even driving, I couldn't drive even after I'd stayed like a month. Like I would go to town and I'm first disoriented, you know, like, okay, I'm in which building? Now when you come out of a building, first I have to think, so which place? And you know, this is a place you used to, but now when I get there, I'm like, you first need to get your bearing. So which side am I? Yeah. But with time, we are getting used to, as I said, now those 6 months have been good. Bonding with my kids and the rest of the family. It has been good.
How are you doing?
I thank God. I thank God. I thank God even for that experience, because I came to learn a lot of things. But I think one of the things that has stuck with me, I think, is the stigma that gets assigned to somebody who's come from prison. I haven't experienced it personally, but I think I also even don't care about it. But I know there are instances where my kids actually faced bullying in school and also within the estate. You know, baba yako yuko jela. So some parents who think they know more, sicheze na watoto,
The perfect ones.
And watoto wa mkora, you know, such things. And it happens. But I think the question is, even the thief at the cross, when he repented, he went to heaven. So who are we to hold over something over somebody who has actually paid his time and has changed? So I think what I would want to go out there is give people a second chance. They may have done what they did, if they have spent time in prison, they have paid for what they did. But also these other family members, why are you punishing them? They're not the ones who committed the crime. So if you don't play with my kids because
their dad is quote unquote mkora.
Yes. How are you helping your kids, or how are you helping my kids? But I thank God that there was also a village that really stood with my wife and my children and our whole family. People that we really owe a lot of gratitude. I remember, like for me, my son was a day scholar. He was going to Strathmore. And I remember one of my close friends, he took up that burden to be dropping him at the bus stop every day by 5:30 in the morning.
No way.
Imagine. So there are really a number of people who stood with us. And those guys, we really owe them a lot of gratitude.
That's beautiful.
Amen.
I promise there are tears of joy. I think the desire in life is to have people who can hold you down for better, for worse.
That is true.
People who can come through for you during the good days
and the bad days.
Yeah. May God bless them.
Amen.
That's actually beautiful. Yeah, honestly. Hey, mumeniamula. Kwa nimesema hii mwaka silimpata. Ni mascara mingi leo. Compensation. Are we getting any compensation for wrongful conviction? Or how does that play?
So that is something we are yet to decide whether, because what our lawyers, like my lawyer had told me, you settle down first, then we can
good. And you don't have to talk about it now. If it's still something in the pipeline. But I can be your lawyer. Nikona kalo kidogo. I specialize in compensation law.
Nice.
You know? Yes. And the property, because see, now you are convicted. See, that means now your uncle would get back the property. So did he get the property, or do you still have the property?
So what happened?
Yeah.
The property, as I had mentioned, had already been distributed as per the will.
Yes.
So, for example, like the property I was left the plot I was left was myself and my sister.
Yes.
So that one had already sold it because
Okay.
my sister was going to the US and she said we sell it and share the proceeds. So I had already sold it before all this began.
Okay.
We had already sold it. So what happened is when we were put in jail, so my uncle now went back to the civil court to say these people have been found guilty.
Yes.
So they revoke the will and everything. So the matter is in court. Because now with the new judgment, this is a higher court which has given the judgment.
Good.
So it supersedes the judgment of the high court, of the civil court. Because the civil court had already gone ahead, despite our lawyers telling them that these people still have a second appeal. So you cannot decide they are guilty until the second appeal has been decided. But now the judge at the civil, he went ahead and said the distributor to be redistributed afresh. Because now it shows there is no will, because that was a forgery.
Yes.
So now with the new ruling from the Court of Appeal, so it supersedes that one.
Okay.
So now the matter now is in the civil court. Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All the very best. God, I have mixed feelings. Like, have you ever really been so proud to having hosted people who are content in the things that they've gone through and knowing there are like so many more blessings to come their way? Because I feel like there are so many things. I mean, I don't like saying I went through this for a reason. Sometimes I'm like, people should never go through stuff in the first place. People should actually never go through some stuff, but there's always that part also that admits we have to go through things, because how we come out of those things is very different from how we went in. But
true.
maybe before we conclude, you mentioned friends. You don't know now where to place some friends. You know, you don't know what to do with some people on your phone book. To anyone that is looking this from the outside, the way you said watoto hawakora, the society, the people who give up on someone simply because someone has been told they did this and that, what would you want to tell the audience watching or the society?
For me, what I would want to say is we are human, and we can make mistakes and we can fall. But when that person is genuinely sorry and repentant, there's no need of holding whatever they did against them. I am a Bible scholar, and I've read about several people who made mistakes within the course of their life, and I want to talk about somebody called King Manasseh. You find his story in 2 Chronicles chapter 30 and a bit of 33. And he was one of the worst kings that Judah ever had. He introduced idolatry, he killed the prophets, he did every manner of evil that you can think about. He did it. And when God pronounced judgment upon him and he was taken captive to Assyria, when he was in prison, he repented. He found his way and he repented. And the Bible states that God heard his prayer and he brought him back and elevated him to a higher position even from what he had been before. So if God can actually see that and reward somebody who repents, why should we, in our limited understanding, hold a grudge against somebody for that long? And yet this person has already paid for their sins, or they've already confessed about what they did. I've heard of instances, or even when I talk with my friends or the people that I met in prison. And you're here because somebody could not get past what this person has done. Some people are divorced in prison. You are here thinking your wife and your children are okay. The next thing is unaletewa barua. This thing is over. Or somebody visits you and then all of a sudden they stop visiting again. When you find out, me, I've moved on. Yeah. The kids or the family of the accused also get shunned within the community. Yes, there's some crimes that are bad, you know, we know them. But is it these people who committed them or is this person who's having time in prison? Yeah. So there's always a second chance that we can extend to that, to those people that are affected.
Extend the grace.
Exactly.
Good.
Exactly.
Yeah, so for me, I would also want to thank my friends who stood by me. There are several of them. There are those who really embraced and walked with me through this journey. Of course, there are those who fell off the way. As Mwangi said, you come back, you look at your phone book and you're like, should I still keep this person here? Do we really have, after 4 years, if you really didn't have any connection, even now I don't think you really need them.
Going to have one.
Yeah, but I think, as he said, yeah, people need to embrace people who come out of prison and all that. And then also I would want to speak about families in case of these land disputes. Come together and talk first, because I wish my uncle had raised this issue. You know, when the will was read out, he would have called. We used to be very good. I mean, we had a very good relationship. He tells me, no, I'm not happy with the way this, let's see what we can do. Then we could have sat down as a family and discussed it. But now, he decided, let me take the matter as a criminal. In fact, that issue of, okay, civil cases are there, disputes are always there about land. Yes. But now taking a step further, and you want to make us criminals, you want us to suffer, our children to suffer. Why? This is something which we could have talked about and found a solution. We don't have to go wrangle over the land, you know, over these land matters. I wish he had done that. Yes. And you see, he's the elder. I mean, he's now about 80. Yeah. As the elder, I mean, he should have called us and told us, even if this matter, if you don't do this, we will. Then we see what to do. Because this came out, we were just shocked. Yeah. Because all along I didn't know he had any grudges
or ill intentions.
Yeah.
Do you talk? Have you seen him since you left prison?
No, I haven't seen him because I don't want to make the first move. Because you remember he said that last time my brother tried, he said these people are trying to intimidate me or to do something. And you had in court, the testimony which was given in court after I had took him, one of the statements the sons issued, it's that I took their father and hid him. This time he was in rehab, so that we can do these things. So for me, I'm avoiding. But as he said, through healing, I really don't have any. If he came here now and told me, Carol, I'm sorry of what, I would embrace him. He's the only relative we have now from, as I said, ours was a very small family. My grandmother was alone. She was born alone. She gave birth to 2 children. And my mom died. Now this is the only close relative. Yeah. So if he would come here and we would embrace, and I tell him, okay, that is past. I've forgiven you. Yeah.
But you want to let him make the first move.
Yes.
Which I believe is actually the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Cynthia,
yes.
If he's watching, what would you guys want to tell him?
As I said, for me, what I would tell him is, I wish you had told us what you are feeling before all this began, so that we can talk about it. But for now, whatever we've gone through, okay, for me, I have forgiven him. I have forgiven him. My heart is clean. Yeah.
Okay. Wangi?
I just want to echo what my sister said. I think once you go through certain situations, you get to know that there are things that are more valuable than assets, you know, land and all. And so holding a grudge against somebody because of something really doesn't doesn't give you, or rather does not give any satisfaction. So for me, Uncle, if you're watching, me, I don't have a grudge against you. Whatever happened, happened. But like Caro has said, I wish you had said you have a problem about something and we would have sat down and discussed it. But done is done.
Done is done.
Let's see what the future holds.
All right. Done is done. This interview is done. But I appreciate you for coming through.
Thank you.
Before I wind up and let you guys, send a special message to your loved ones, is there anything you wanted to touch on that you think we left out that we can briefly touch on?
Okay, maybe for me, I would emphasize on the CID officers who are investigating issues, to kindly exhaust their investigations before someone is convicted. Let them do their homework. Because you find that in prison we have people who have been wrongly convicted, and maybe it's because the investigations were not carried out well. So for me would be, please carry out your investigations well before someone is convicted. And as I said earlier, for family members, please resolve issues within the family before you opt to go to court. See how best you can resolve issues.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Mr. Mwangi?
Stay in God in whatever circumstances. Challenges will come in life, but how you face them and who your anchor is will determine if you're going to succeed or not. Prison life is not easy. Maybe this would be a time to talk to the prison authorities and ask them to reconsider some of the situations and the infrastructure that they have. The motto of prisons is kurekebisha na haki. So let's see that part of kurekebisha, not the punishment part.
Yes. Kurekebisha na haki.
Kurekebisha na haki.
All right. Thank you so much.
I think also I also want to probably just also send a shout out.
Feel free. Now go on. Yes.
To the friends that have stood by us. I think for me, I have a special mention to a group that we call Club 292. This is a group that has really stood by us as a family. They've really played the roles of parents to our children. My brothers and sisters, my sister who's in the US, and our younger sister, my big sister, of course, and her family, and all our in-laws, everybody who has stood with us. Thank you so much for being part of this family. And also to my organization. You know yourself.
Yeah.
Big up.
Big up. Thank you. You've done now the one I wanted to do. Now let me make you do the one I did not want you to do. Okay. So maybe there's always a special way we wind up our shows. So maybe looking at this camera, we are used to telling people thank you. So to you right now, what would you say to Caro, dear Caro?
Dear Caro, what I would want to say is I'm very proud of you for keeping strong throughout all this. It wasn't easy, but with God's strength, you made it. So what I can say is trials will come through, but just keep the faith. Just be strong, and God will come through for you.
Yes.
Bro.
Mwas. Things have been hard. You know how they have been. But you are strong. You made it through some of the greatest challenges any person can go through. But it wasn't your own strength. You relied on God. He held your hand and He led you. So do not go away from Him. Continue being in His presence. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Any contact details to anyone that would want to reach out to you guys, an email maybe, just in case they have questions ama wanitafute?
Wakutafute.
Ndio huyo acting lawyer wa compensation. No, but wanitafute. Yes, so or do you want to give?
Yeah, I can give my contacts. Okay, but before I give, I would also want to appreciate my daughter and my son.
Yes.
They stayed through together. They made me proud. They didn't turn away on there you hear in that critical stage of my son is a teenager getting to adulthood. He stayed strong and focused on his studies. And just to tell them I'm very proud of them.
Beautiful.
Yes. So my contact, my telephone is 0728 111 631. Yes.
So wakitaka mwas wakutafute.
Wanitafute.
Mimi nimepatia sasa Karo mzigo. Yeah, but you know, people always inquire, people always want to get in touch. Sometimes people want to weigh in also. Yeah, people just want to actively participate maybe further after the story. But you can reach out, Karo, guys, through this number. But I wish you all the very best, even in finding a beautiful job again, even in starting your company. You are such a leader. Like you just have it in you, like you are such a leader. So I'm wishing you more grace, you know. And for you, Mr. Mwangi, may God continue blessing you. You've taught us a lot. You've taught us a lot, both of you, in today's conversation. Yeah, shall we wind up?
Yes.
Kabisa?
Yes.
Tuko sawa?
Tuko sawa.
Tuwakunywe maji sasa. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And as I was just telling my guests, please, let me know what your take home is from today's conversation. Tuwezi acha muende. There's a question I'm asking people. Who else do you want us to sit with on this show?
For me, I'd like you to call. She's Reverend Joyce Wamboi. She's a chaplain at Langata Women Prison.
Oh, she's a chaplain there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll put that into consideration.
Okay.
Yes. Mwas.
Hey. I'm trying to.
Niko tough.
There's a friend of mine. We spent time with him also at Nairobi West, and I know he has a story to tell. His name is Chris Ngaho.
Okay.
I can give you his contacts.
Okay.
Because he has a story. It's not exactly similar to mine, but he's also will inspire people.
Okay.
Yeah.
We want inspiration. And you're my first consideration. Sawa, asante sana. Yeah, go you, more grace to you and your family, and to you guys at home, as I was saying. On the comment section, what's your take home? I think today's conversation reminds me of a very beautiful song I used to listen to. It's Kanji Mbugua featuring, now the other name, he's not Kenyan, but I used to really love listening to that song. And there was a place they used to say, in the midst of the hurricane, I found my strength. And I feel like that's what today's conversation for me, the take home is, how can you be able to find strength during hard moments, the storm, the hurricane, the drought, all these periods? How are you able to find your strength? Yeah, so let me know on the comment section what your take home is. And as I said, if you want to get hold of our guest today, please send any Karo ndio hii number yenye iko hapa, and to say thank you. Matters learned are very complex, and that's even why when I'm working with partners, I just love working with people whose credibility is unmatched. Me, I don't want you guys 10 years later to come and say I sold you a product that really had issues. Like, I don't want you guys to come and say. That's why today we just want to say thank you to our official partners of the conversation, Optiven. They are celebrating 24 good years. Yeah, feels really good to work with such a brand over the years. And if you're looking into a retirement home, na hakuna pressure, why my people, times are hard. So endeni maisha pole pole. But if you're looking into a retirement home where you'll be just waking up to the Indian Ocean, they have the Ocean View Ridge in Vipingo. Why don't you check them out? I say Optiven does not sell you land, they sell you a lifestyle. Great amenities, road, security, all these beautiful beautiful roads and the security, as I said, water. So check them out. And also to say thank you to you guys. Asanteni for watching. I don't know how you get to watch these episodes that are this long, lakini tuko pamoja. You see why I can't be able to edit them out, because I want you guys to witness them in full. Sawa sawa. Thank you for tuning in, and of course to our incredible producer. Excuse me, LNN ni kubwa, msituone hivi. You're doing good job on this one. Thank you for putting it together, and the entire team at LNN for making sure that we continue to give you stories that impact the nation, one story at a time. If you're watching this show and you've not subscribed, you are doing a great disservice to our platform. Please just subscribe. That's all we ask of you. It goes a long way to making sure the algorithm favors our work and it's being recommended across the nations. I'm gonna see you guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Enjoy your Christmas. Sindio, pole tumaisha tuipeleke pole pole. Sawa? Alright, bye bye.